All right, my friends, what's going on? Hope you guys are doing great. I am live streaming both to my LinkedIn and to YouTube at the same time. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on chat from both as we have a whole bunch of people flowing in on both channels. What's up? I want you guys to say hi. Wes Spencer here. And I want to start us out with a quote. It's a shocking quote, but it's a really good one nonetheless. You guys ready for this? Here we go. Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is a force like a fire, a dangerous servant, and a terrible master. What a quote to get us started. Now, before you get mad at me, that was not my words. That was the words of the one, the only George Washington, the very first president of the United States. Let me read that to you again. Government is not reason. It is not eloquence. It is a force like a fire, a dangerous servant and a terrible master. Wow, that is man, that'll get you going. What's going on, guys? We're going to talk about this. There's some huge things that have happened in the federal government circles, both in the EU and in the US, and we're going to cover that. A lot of this circles around my spheres of experience and interest, which is cybersecurity, around crypto, and what's happening with all of this. If you didn't see it in my last video that I produced, you got to go watch it. I did a deep dive into how the Axie Infinity hack occurred. So you're talking about $520 million stolen from their Ronin bridge network. And the wild thing about that, the insane wild thing about that is the way this thing happened. Right? It came from phishing attacks and it came from failure to decommission old stuff. If you look at all of these other attacks that we've seen across the board over the past few years, they usually start with those two attack vectors. You look at Colonial Pipeline that shut down the entire gas pipeline, at least in the eastern side of the US, all happened from failure to shut down a decommissioned VPN server. Unbelievable. Now, one thing I talk about in this channel a whole lot, is the fact that oftentimes the government seems to produce guidance or enforcement, or at least in the States, you see new executive orders that come about right on the cusp of a major event happening. It's just amazing how this happens. For example, many of you guys, especially you LinkedIn followers, know right after the big Kaseya attack that happened in July of last year, right on the heels of that came out an executive order on cybersecurity. Now, don't hear me saying that this was just forced out there, like right as this happened, right? It had been written for a while, but the timing was fortuitous for the government to get it out. And so I don't think that should be any shock for any of us to see the federal government make some motions right after this Axie Infinity hack happened. And can we just time out for a second? Like, my friends, I don't know how this hasn't been a bigger news event. I've been following this like crazy, but it seems like no one cares because it's like a video game. But 520-ish million, $500 million stolen? Unbelievable. Like, yeah, the major news did pick it up for sure, but it's just not nearly enough of news items. And I'm curious why you guys think that is. Give me some comments here in the chat. I think for once, Restream is giving me both LinkedIn and YouTube chats all together, which is a miracle for the first time ever. I don't know why they struggle with that, but tell me why you guys think that is. Why is it that we're not seeing a ton of news cycles and a ton of like why is your grandma not calling you being like, yo, did you hear about that video game that they like 500 million was stolen? I've seen other bigger news events. I'm blown away. I'm blown away by it. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. Whole bunch of you guys checking in on chat. Man, so many people. I think we got at least 100 already between YouTube and LinkedIn. This is awesome. We'll continue to have people flow in. We're going to talk about today some huge news items that have happened in the EU and in the US, and how we can sort them out, how we can make sense of them. And one of the keys to understanding a lot of like government, like regulation and new guidance that gets provided is understanding what's happening underneath. There's a message that's happening underneath the flow of what's being said. And it's important for us to see that. So we're going to talk about that. Tim Leonard checking in. Great quote. Hey, thanks. Appreciate you Tim. You are a good friend and awesome. Man, so many of you guys jumping in here. We got the one, the only Robert Chiaffi. Wow, Robert's in here. Most people can't wrap their heads around crypto, right? Yeah, I know that's why we YouTubers even have a chance at life, right? So, man, checking in from Brighton, England here on digital DTV. What's going on? Glad you are on today. Man, so many good quotes coming in here. I can't possibly get to all of them. But yeah, this is a good point by Vince. Maybe it's just a lot of the narrative around new stuff with COVID, with Russia, for sure. Totally can understand that. There's only so much time that we have for all of this. Let's see what else here. To the mainstream no coiners, I like that he calls them the no coiners, right? Crypto is not real money. They don't understand. Yeah, I totally get that. Totally hear that. So we're going to jump into a lot of this. David Ellis checking in. What's up? David's a good friend of mine checking in on LinkedIn. By the way, if you guys don't follow me on either side of the house, check it out on LinkedIn. I typically am much more cybersecurity. YouTube, I tend to get more into crypto. It's just where the channels match up. Also follow me on Twitter, Wes Spencer. You can get me there, Wes_Spencer. So let's jump into the news. All right. That's a good intro for what's going on here, but I'm going to show you this. This is pretty interesting here. Let's get this to where you can see me a little bit better. Oh my goodness, that's not going to work. Let's make this a little thinner. There we go. Okay, cool. Took me a minute, but I eventually got there. So this is pretty interesting. This came in yesterday, and I was tweeting about this yesterday, and it really started to take off. This was broken, as far as I'm aware. The news was broken by a few folks at Coinbase and some other places. And this is a wild one. This is a big old deal if you live in the EU. So first of all, let's pause the narrative and understand that what I'm about to tell you is not in force yet. It might go into force, and let's hope that it doesn't, but we still have some time. And this is one of the great things about democracy, at least it should be, is that when you have overbearing, overreaching regulation, that we have time as citizens to get in front of that and say, what the heck, guys? No, back this off. No. We, the people, are not going to accept this. So this is one of those things. So let's jump into this article. This comes, by the way, I typically like to share my sources here. So this is from Decrypt. I love Decrypt. Great source, great media outlet. So look at this one here. So the EU Parliament has voted today. Now this was yesterday, to impose new regulatory measures that would essentially prohibit anonymous cryptocurrency transactions, right? Now, at the face of it, we can just kind of pause there and say, is the face of it, that's not so bad, right? Like maybe not. Now, we're going to get into like the genesis of where crypto is created in the first place. And there's a whole bunch of anonymity defense that's built into a lot of this, right? But at the first statement, I could see how some people read this and they're like, I don't see a problem with that, right? My bank knows about all my transactions, right? But I want you to step outside that and think about it for yourself. Are you okay with your bank knowing every transaction you make? Maybe your credit card is different than who holds your banking account. Are you okay with both of them knowing everything about you? Probably not. Would you like PayPal or Venmo or Cash App to see every single thing that you do without equal? They're all the same? Probably not, right? So all of a sudden we start to explore a little bit of, wait a second, this might be a little bit more insidious than we first thought, right? So now I am not a European, so I'm always careful to not overspeak where I don't have a lot of understanding, and would never pretend to be an expert in European politics and legislation, right? So this mentions the econ and the LIBE committees. I don't know enough about those committees, so I won't speak about who those groups are. But the deal is this. So anyone that transacts more than 1,000 euros using an unhosted cryptocurrency wallet. Now, what does that mean? I don't like the term unhosted. I think it's a terrible term, right? I mean, the whole idea of a cryptocurrency wallet is nothing but public and private key encryption. It's literally all it is. But what they mean by a hosted wallet is someone that is your intermediary. So think like a Coinbase, a Gemini, a Celsius. So you guys know I'm a huge fan of Celsius. If you're ever interested in making money with your crypto, check Celsius out. I've got links in my descriptions on YouTube videos, pretty much in all of them. They're awesome. But this affects each of those groups, right? So they're saying basically you must, if you're using an unhosted cryptocurrency wallet, which is outside of the bounds of those. So think like MetaMask, think like Kepler in the Coinbase or in the Cosmos world. All of those would count as unhosted, ones that you maintain your own security. So they're saying, no, this is going to be a problem, right? So they mentioned some others that are even the hardware wallets. Unfortunately, I don't have a hardware wallet near me. Maybe I don't even have a hardware wallet. I'm not going to tell you guys what kind of wallets I have or may allegedly not have. But even if you have a hardware wallet like a Ledger or a Trezor, both of those are examples of non-custodial wallets that you own yourself. And the government is saying, no, not going to allow it. And then so it goes on. This vote allows for debate among policymakers in the crypto industry over whether these wallets should be subject to KYC. What KYC means is this: is know your customer. Okay, so here's what's happening with KYC across the board: is this idea of know your customer is who are you dealing with? Is this guy right here actually Wes Spencer? When I walk into a bank and I go create a new account, they have to go through some checks to make sure that I am me, because identity theft is a really big deal. Same with like you do this on many of the apps that are out there. You sign up with PayPal, you got to prove your identity. You sign up with an exchange like Coinbase, you've got to prove your identity. These are called KYC checks, and they're important in a centralized industry and ecosystem to make sure that we're actually dealing with who this person is. In the decentralized world, we don't care about that, right? Like I just sign up with MetaMask, I create my own key and my own seed phrase, or it creates it for me and I store it and I'm responsible for protecting it. It doesn't matter if I'm Michael Saylor or Wes Spencer or anyone else that's out there. It literally doesn't matter because I am maintaining it myself. Now, there's a huge difference in the privacy perspective between centralized and decentralized. In the decentralized world, I don't need KYC because I am maintaining my own wallet and my own security, and I am responsible for it. And if it gets stolen, that's on me. If I want to pay someone, I pay someone, but I have to trust myself, and there's no central intermediary. Now, in the centralized ecosystem, which again are like a good example, that would be a Coinbase, or in the financial fiat world would be a bank, they must know who they're dealing with because they bear a lot of the responsibility, at least they should, around payments from one source to another. And so they have to do KYC to check everybody, right? And so what we're seeing here, let's go back to the news article. What we're seeing here is this: the KYC pieces that are coming into this, they're saying you must have KYC for any wallet that's being used. And so if you're going to bring money, and we'll talk about how this works a little bit more in just a second, but if you're going to bring money in from a privately held decentralized wallet into a centralized ecosystem, you're going to have KYC on that. Otherwise, we're not going to allow it. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Now, let's back this up a little bit and kind of come back into the world of reality. The EU is not making crypto illegal. They're not saying you're going to prison if you own crypto. I've seen a lot of people like going way too far on those kinds of things. That's not what they're saying. I think what they are saying is we want to know more about whoever is using crypto in our sphere of regulation and where we have authority. And if you're using private wallets and you're bringing money in from the outside, we want to know who that's from. And we also want to know if you're going to pay to somebody with a self-hosted wallet, where it's going to. And I honestly, I think this is bad. The reason I think it's bad is not because it's not that I don't believe that crypto is used for nefarious purposes. I'm a cybersecurity guy. I did a video a while back. Go check this on LinkedIn on the rise and fall of REvil, huge hacking group out of Russia. And I even show you clips of tons and tons of money that they had, like literally fiat that they transferred from Bitcoin into fiat. And when they got arrested, all that money got seized. So I know crypto is used for nefarious purposes. I know that. I was one of the very first to do a documentary on the rise and fall of Silk Road. Go check that out. It's like one of my oldest videos. It's got like 600,000 views now. I'm aware that it's used for bad things. But as a security person, I'm also very privacy centric as well. And I care about the privacy of the individual. And this is something that I think we have violations inside of. And if I'm talking to the EU Parliament, I would say to them, hey guys, do you not realize that we already have really good checks and nefarious uses of crypto? There are great companies like Chainalysis, for example, that do very good insights into the use and the laundering and the illegal, illicit purposes of crypto. In fact, in many ways, cash, fiat, is even more insidious. because I can just bring a suitcase full of it wherever and give it to somebody and they're never going to know. No one else is going to know about it. Right. So like, I'm getting on a soapbox here, but this is a problem, right? It's overreaching. So here's Brian Armstrong's tweet. And I wanted to share this one as well, because this is a really good one. So if you don't know Brian, he is, let me bring him up real quick, open a new tab. Brian is the CEO of Coinbase. So very, very well known. And as far as I know, never met him, but seems like a pretty good dude. So here we go. So he mentions, and he's calling it anti-innovation, anti-privacy, anti-law enforcement. Now, let's pause here for a second. One thing that you have to think about in ramifications when you introduce new regulation, and I know this from my days in banking, is anytime you introduce in new regulation around limiting what something can be done, you are also at the same time hampering innovation. And that's a super, super dangerous thing. John Lockey. Oh my goodness. What a good friend of mine. He's putting in a super sticker for $9.99. John, thank you, man. That's awesome. So kind of you, my friend. You are a good friend of mine. I've known John for many, many years, and is a great friend of mine. Thank you so much for that, John. I appreciate that. So I think that what we see here from Brian Armstrong is correct, that this isn't just anti-crypto, right? It's also anti-innovation, because this is going to have downstream effects into, he's saying April Fool's Day. Now he's going to pull it back from me. John, I see how it goes. All right. Maybe this whole thing is April Fool's, right? Okay, so I got to get back on track here. So it's not just anti-crypto, but we've got to think about the ramifications of what this does in the world of DeFi, what this does in the world of all of the decentralized exchanges and cryptos that are coming out there. Many of them are junk, but many of them are legit and doing some awesome, innovative things. So let's just be aware of this, that we have to be careful with this. And so he goes on, and I like some of his commentary. I want you guys to read this and take a look, and definitely follow Brian as well. So the latest draft, let's see, what does he say here? Parliament of the Transfer of Funds Regulation treats crypto and every person who holds crypto differently from fiat. So his big deal is this. He's like, wait a second. And this is kind of what I was getting at a minute ago. It's like we're making crypto a worse bad guy than fiat itself, even though fiat is used far more for really bad things, right? It's used far more for things like malicious uses in laundering and all that kind of stuff, right? Hey, I see a few questions coming in. And if you do have them, I'll try to get to them when I can in the stream of consciousness. And I'll definitely have time at the end of this live stream for questions. But I do see one person who's begging me to answer. India, and I'll even show this. So, and I saw this as well. India's condition is worse with 30% tax. For sure. I actually saw an article talking about that. U.S. isn't far behind with capital gains taxes reaching, anywhere from 24 to 33%. I'm not your CPA. Taxes are certainly a big deal here for sure. Okay, so let's get back to what Brian's saying here. Let's see. Every crypto transaction, and not just those with €1,000 threshold, as is the case with fiat, would be travel rule eligible. In other words, basically any transaction here, anything, has to have the KYC on top of it, right? This means that before you can send or receive crypto from a self-hosted wallet, Coinbase will be required to collect, store, and verify information on the other party, which is not our customer, before the transfer is allowed. In other words, good luck for that happening, right? So say you want to use crypto with Coinbase to pay somebody for something in Bitcoin or whatever the crypto du jour is. And that user is going to have to register with Coinbase and fill out a ton of information. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Maybe it will. In the PayPal Cash App world, you have to do that. But it's certainly going to make it much harder, right? So he goes on and he talks a whole bunch about all this kind of stuff. He gives some examples of how cumbersome this is going to be. And I think this is right. So we're seeing people fight back on this. And here's some examples of this. So this right here comes from Cointelegraph. And in fact, they mentioned the tweet stream from Brian Armstrong as well in here, but they also quote some others, including Edward Snowden, which I think is pretty funny, or it maybe not funny, just interesting or timely is a better way to say it. So take a look at this as well, but we're definitely seeing like the fight back happen. We're seeing a lot in the community, including myself and others, are like, wait a second, this is way too overbearing. We understand the need for regulation for control and visibility into the crypto world. But boy, you talk about a heavy-handed approach. This is the exact example of it, right? Pays away for massive surveillance regime over Europe's financial landscape. There's more quotes that are in here. This comes from the Crypto Council for Innovation. Today, the EU Parliament voted in favor of measures that significantly raise concerns for individuals. If approved, these new measures will create fundamental issues for privacy, innovation, and access. Of course it will, right? Of course it will. So this is pretty big stuff, right? Unstoppable Finance. This is a DeFi. This is like an EU-based DeFi company that's out there. So they even, they mentioned this, and I almost forgot about this. So I'm glad I saw this. It introduces unfeasible wallet verification requirements and unjustifiable reporting requirements for crypto companies that would have massively detrimental effects for EU citizens and companies alike. That is a good quote. And here's why. One of the problems with law is when you create things that are unenforceable, right? And so here's what I mean by this. If you're going to say, hey, you can't use unhosted wallets without KYC, I'm going to say, how are you going to stop me? I can still just go right to MetaMask and install it. How are you going to stop all of this? How are you going to stop one user from doing DeFi and growing their crypto? How are you going to stop one user from sending another a transaction from MetaMask to their MetaMask or their Trust wallet or whatever it is? You can't stop it. You literally can't stop it. So let's just recognize, like this link says here, or this article, or this quote says here, it's unfeasible. We can't actually do it. It can't be done, right? Okay. Let's check quotes, or let's check chat a little bit here, see what all is coming in here. Lots of stuff here. Let's see. Okay, this is one someone was asking me to answer, so I'm going to just pull this up. But I have one doubt with KYC. Illegal activities can be prevented and punished in a normal scenario. So in a decentralized ecosystem, how would you prevent such illegal activities without KYC? Okay, so great question, right? So here's my thoughts on this, right? KYC is important because it does what we've said it does, right? It does this whole who is your customer. The problem is this stuff can be faked very easily. It's not hard to violate to break KYC, right? KYC just puts in place the regimen. I'm checking for this. I'm checking for this. I'm checking for this. If this succeeds and we push the user through, I can tell you as an old banker, it's possible and happens often that you still see fraud even when KYC is in place. So KYC is not, a panacea, so to speak. It doesn't fix all problems. The goal for it is to reduce the occurrence of illegal usage and things like this. But KYC doesn't stop everything, unfortunately. But it certainly helps. So don't hear me say that KYC doesn't help. But in a decentralized ecosystem, going back to the question, is decentralized just makes you in control of everything, of your own identity, your own use, not your keys, not your crypto, all that kind of stuff. So we can still see illicit uses in a centralized ecosystem and a decentralized ecosystem. We still can. So that's the best way I know how to answer that. Rest in peace, Satoshi. Yeah, a lot of people do think Satoshi, whoever that may be, is now passed. Who knows? But yeah, you wonder. Who else do we? Oh, we got the one and only Michael Riggs. Mike is a really good friend of mine as well. But it's feel-good legislation, right? Yeah, it makes me feel. It may not be enforceable, but boy, we feel better about it, don't we? Yes. Oh, here's one from Matt Schwab. Matt has been reading up on the crypto. So zero knowledge, ZK stands for zero knowledge rollups for identity are coming. Yes, there's a number of crypto projects, and I haven't really covered ZK stuff on my channel at all, but at some point I need to. But they are coming, right? And we're going to see a very fast and swift response on some of these things, right? Not necessarily just like anti-legislation, but we're going to see a lot of innovation continue to pour in that's going to make these things even more unenforceable and hard. Doesn't stop serious criminals, just the ones that want to bend the law. That's a good way of saying it, right? And this is the way it is for all things, right? Like I'm not picking on crypto. Don't hear me as like this crypto maximalist that's like I only think it shouldn't happen for crypto. This happens in the cash ecosystem as well. You really want to bend or break the law, you're going to find a way to do it for sure. Exactly right. How would you KYC a cold wallet? That's an even better question, right? Like, how are you going to KYC this thing, right? I guess when it enters into the centralized ecosystem, you have to provide KYC with it from where the funds came from that private wallet, I guess. But like, I see your point for sure. Okay, a bajillion quotes and comments coming in here that I'm not going to have time to get to, or we're not going to get done with the live stream. So I did want to share all of that. But one of the things I also wanted to talk about a little bit is, did this actually wreck the like our whole world, like our whole crypto world? And not really, I guess, is the answer to this. Let's see if I can get this to where you can see a little bit better here. Watching this alongside. There we go. That's good enough. So Bitcoin's still sitting at 46. The market today is up. I actually thought when this happened, this was going to be really bad for the market. But the market speaks the way the market speaks. And by the way, there's probably a ton of like crypto YouTubers that are out there where they're like calling for the demise of crypto when this thing came out. And here's the deal, guys. Don't listen to crypto YouTubers uh, or crypto Twitter or TikTokers. They don't know what they're talking about. I say this all the time on my channel, but like they're speculating just like you're speculating, right? And you can do it just as well as they can. They just have probably more expensive camera than you do. And that's the only difference between you and them. So the market is not really, tanking all that hard from this. So I think that's a good thing. Man, so many good friends are on here. Tim Furnett, another good friend of mine. Compliance is not security. Yeah. So compliance, that's a good way. So what Tim is saying is compliance sets the floor, good security sets the ceiling. In other words, compliance, like we're going to force KYC in and out of this ecosystem. Otherwise, you can't do it. That's setting a minimum threshold that going back to being able to bend the rules, et cetera, et cetera. It's easy to get past. Exactly right. Okay. So that's some of the stuff happening on the EU side. You guys know my thoughts and opinions. I think this is bad. I think it is anti-crypto, anti-innovation. I am hoping to see, what I'd really like to see is enough of a backlash come out about this that they back this up. And they're like, whoa, we didn't realize how much vitriol there'd be from the crypto community. Why don't we think of a better way to do this? Maybe we can meet in the middle a little bit more and understand, here's what we're trying to accomplish. How do we get this done a little bit better? And I'm not going to, I can add to the fact that a lot of lawmakers, at least in the US, are a whole bunch of geriatrics that don't even understand crypto in the beginning. And that's a problem, right? A lot of these are old stalwart bankers that simply don't, like Warren Buffett style. Now, hear me, I'm not hating on Warren Buffett. The guy's filthy rich for a reason, but he doesn't understand crypto at his own admission. These are not the kind of people we need steering crypto regulation because they're going to drive it right off a cliff. They just will. I'm trying to be even-handed here. Okay. So let's see here. Let's jump into the U.S. side. So the U.S. has its own drama building up. This is an interesting one. So this comes from Blockworks. And there's several sites that have shown this. This came out today. So the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, so they deal with like exchanges, and they deal with publicly traded companies, all this kind of stuff, right? Very wide-reaching abilities for sure. And this is an interesting one. They're calling for crypto entities to show liability on the balance sheet. Now, what does that mean? And why is that important? And why is this such a big deal, you ask? Well, let's talk about this. So members of the US SEC penned a bulletin Thursday outlining what they view as particularly troublesome for the current accounting obligations within the crypto industry. In other words, they're saying, you know what? We don't like how some of the stuff that you're reporting, we don't like how you're doing some of that. And we're going to produce this bulletin we're producing for you guys. We're going to clarify some of this. We want you to change the way you're acting and thinking and operating here a little bit. Okay. So look at this. SEC staff said they believed entities should present a liability on their balance sheet to reflect their obligation to safeguard digital assets held for the platform users. Now, this is a big one here, guys, a really big one. And it's insidious because you read this and you're like, oh, no big deal. I actually don't think that this is wrong. This is one I disagree with much less than what's happening over the pond in the EU with what I just covered. This is an interesting one, though. So here's what they're saying. They're saying the way you've currently been building your balance sheet, you're not reporting the assets you're holding for your own clients well enough, good enough, whatever the word is. It's not, we want you to change this, and we want you to recognize that when you're holding assets for your investees, that you report that as a liability, not an asset, that you report this as risk to your organization. And therefore, if it's a risk, the way you disclose this, the way you protect this, and the way you even balance it on your ledgers, your financial actual ledgers, I don't mean like the actual like hardware wallet ledger, is it flips everything. Now, why did this come out? Remember how I said I think the government is often working on a lot of different things, but they seem to use fortuitous timing to produce them? Well, this comes out right here. I talked about this at the beginning of the live stream. Remember, and I covered, if you haven't watched it, go watch yesterday's video that I produced around Axie Infinity and how that whole thing kind of unpacked, right? $620 million stolen. So this commentary, this bulletin came out literally the day after, I guess a couple days after, because the exploit happened like 7 days ago now. But it came after this huge event, right? So 625 million was stolen. And, so you see the SEC saying, wait a second, guys, you've been storing or bridging or holding or facilitating all of this crypto from your customers. And then all of a sudden, in a case like this, it all got wiped off the map. This is the SEC's way of jumping into this and saying, we want you guys to do this a lot different. Here's another one. This comes from Yahoo Finance. And this one is probably a little bit more of a better explainer article. So definitely check this one out as well. But they're talking about the same kinds of things, right? So here we go. So these entities and their agents may safeguard the platform users' crypto assets and also maintain the cryptographic key to access them, like in the case of Axie Infinity or the case of you storing funds with Coinbase or Celsius or anywhere else. These obligations associated with these arrangements involve unique risks and uncertainties present in arrangements to safeguard assets that are not crypto assets, including technological, legal, and regulatory risks and uncertainties. So in other words, they're saying, look, we're producing this bulletin to force you to treat what you're storing that you have custodial control over as a publicly traded company as a liability for 3 reasons: technological, legal, and regulatory risks that are inside of all of this. That's how they see all of this. And I don't think that they're exactly wrong here. I see where they're coming from. And so let's see, there was something else around here in this article that I wanted to, oh yeah. So periodic reports would need to be filed to the SEC. So they're also going to have to show this. The SEC is kind of drawing a line here and saying, you're going to have to report all this, you crypto companies. And we want to see your holdings for your own clients being recognized as a liability. And I'll get into why liabilities and assets matter on the balance sheet, but just know this. There's a reason it's called a balance sheet for nothing. It has to be, or it's not called a balance sheet for nothing. They balance. So we'll talk about that, how it sort of changes things in just a second, right? So there you go. And so they even mentioned the Axie Infinity hack as well. But then they mentioned, look at this. Coinbase was storing $278 billion of its customers' digital wallets at the end of 2021, representing approximately 11.5% of the total market cap of crypto assets at the time. That's insane. Like, that's crazy. Look at this right here. So Coinbase is storing 11% of the entire market cap of crypto, not just Bitcoin, crypto. What would happen? Have you ever asked yourself if you're storing all of your wealth with crypto, with Coinbase? What would happen if an Axie Infinity style attack hit them? Now, let's not say it's impossible. It could happen. I trust Coinbase far more in their security capabilities than Axie Infinity, because clearly this week has shown, but it could happen. And if you haven't seen, I did a video over a year ago of the rise and fall of Mt. Gox. I have personally gone through an exchange going underneath, and I've lost a whole bunch of Bitcoin from it. I know how much it hurts. But that was back in 2013. Fast forward to today, when crypto is not trading at like $1,000, it's trading at $46,000. And imagine Coinbase holding 278 billion and a significant portion of that just evaporating out the window. This is what the SEC is trying to say about this. You're holding all of this, and we're not sure that you're even reporting this correctly. We're not even sure that you're treating this correctly on the books, because the way you treat it on the books shows us how you're viewing it and how it balanced up against your assets. That should balance it all. That's wow, right? So I think this one's a really interesting one here. And if you're curious more about this is what I was going to talk about. The balance sheet should always balance. So you have assets on one side, we have liabilities on the other, and they must balance. And so the SEC is saying, hey, if you were counting all that stuff as assets, now you're counting it as liabilities. It's great that you're holding $1 billion or $200 or whatever the number is of your customers' crypto that you're custodial authority over. That's now flipping to a liability. It's going to change the game. It really is. And I'm curious to see how the big companies like the Celsius and the Coinbase of the world handle this, right? So if you want to see more about it, they talk about assets are just classically accounting literature. What this is: cash, equivalents, accounts receivable, expenses, inventory, prepaid expenses, inventory, land, the like, and then liabilities, debts, obligations you owe to third parties, et cetera, et cetera. So it's interesting that it's shifting over to them. So there you have it. Like, I don't think either of these are like great news for the crypto industry. If I had to pick one that's better than the other, I would definitely say what we're seeing in the US side with the SEC makes a lot more sense than what I think we're seeing with a heavy-handed approach of forced KYC and, the not really the outlawing, but as close as you can get to that over privately held wallets. These are both pretty significant news events. Now, I wanted to show you this. Here's the thing about what's going to happen in the world of crypto is you're going to see, I didn't mean to click on that link. Let me go back. You're going to see one of the things about a lot of crypto projects is they're worldwide, and they were built from the beginning to be, I don't want to say regulation proof, and I don't want to put words into Satoshi Nakamoto's mouth, right? We do know that Satoshi cared about privacy quite a bit. But we also know that this was built to be a financial system that's independent of any federal government. And if you doubt me on that, just go search. I mean, we can just do this together. Watch this. Bitcoin Genesis block right here. The Genesis block of Bitcoin. I'm sure one of these links will show it, but inside of the actual transaction data of it, and it probably will show it in here. I'm going to scroll down to see if I can find it. There was a message hidden by Satoshi himself linking to the 2009 big bank bailouts. Now, what does that mean? It just means Satoshi, we do know Satoshi, there's a reason he included that link of all links of saying Bitcoin is a way to decentralize against the financial ecosystem. Whether you agree or disagree, that was in there, right? And so my point is crypto has been well known from the beginning to be censorship proof, to be running on encryption, to have all the benefits that encryption provides. And so it's going to be hard for overhanded regulations to shut crypto down. People ask me all the time, they're like, do you think crypto can be stopped? Can the government shut down crypto? I'm like, well, the government can certainly throw you in prison for violating the rules around crypto, but stopping it? Have you ever seen this thing right here? I don't know if it'll show up, but right here in Brave, new private window with Tor. Yeah, it's not showing up. Darn it. Pop-ups don't show up inside of Restream. But if right here, I'll show you where it is. If you're using Brave, there's a little hamburger, little item right there. Click on that little guy sometime and check it out and click into it and go to private window with Tor. These are censorship things that have been built into the beginning by Brave. Brave built it in, but Tor has been around for many, many years before that, and drives an encrypted economy. It's not always bad stuff that's out there, right? So I guess my point is good luck trying to stop it. And so if I'm advising government, I'm going to say, look, we can't stop it. So let's try to build guardrails around all of this and understand that if we push too hard, people will just slip right past it. So let's set up reasonable expectations and get what we need across. But if we go too far, we're not going to be able to stop it. You just can't. And there's good examples of this, right? You ever heard of Monero? Monero is probably the most privacy-centric crypto that I am aware of, right? So Monero is an interesting one. I'm a huge fan of Secret Network. Secret Network is doing some different things than Monero, really building encryption and secrecy into the transactions themselves, running on the Cosmos network. In the early days, I did a YouTube review on Keep Network. They're pretty awesome. So using Ethereum's, they call it the very first private computer. This is for DeFi stuff. There are many more. I saw this one on a search. I have no idea who these people are, but I was just Googling for dark exchanges and things like this. And here's one called dark.network. That's a hard thing. Dark.network. Here's one that's out there. And I kind of wonder, guys, if we're going to see if regulation continues to push in an overbearing way, are we going to see the very first, we have the dark web, which is run through Tor. It's not always evil and, illegal stuff, but sometimes it is. Will we see dark exchanges? When will we see the very first decentralized Tor-based exchange that's out there? If governments push too hard, you will see that happen. And that will be significantly difficult for the government to track it. So I asked the government, if you're listening today, which you're probably not, why push everyone into that? Why push them so hard and so far into going down that dark rabbit hole that it makes life worse for you, that you can actually see less? Instead of pushing too hard in which you will result in an area you regret, maybe you should pull back some of this and have even-handed, logical reasoning in how you try to provide your approach to all of this, right? So there you have it. Those are some projects that are out there. There are others as well. One I should mention is like the Sentinel network and what's happening there with like all the DeFi Cosmos stuff there. I actually did a YouTube interview with some of the folks over there from some projects there. So check that out as well. But there's a lot that's happening in the privacy world, and there always will be. We're not going to see that go away. So what questions do you guys have for me? Now I can focus on your questions. We dove into what's happening in the crypto space. Still over hundreds of you guys on right now. Man, this is so awesome. Let me know what questions you guys have. Happy to answer some things that I feel comfortable and able to answer. I am quick to say I don't know when I come across something that I do not know, because I am not an expert in all these things. So let me know if you guys have some questions. We'll be happy to take an attempt at answering some of them. And, I would just say, don't be too fearful over what we see happening here. Usually these things tend to sort themselves out, and I'm hopeful and confident that they will sort themselves out. So just know that as well. Okay, I am not seeing any questions. I don't think it's from the delay. I was given a few seconds. Maybe you guys are just quiet today, and that is okay. You have the last few minutes or seconds here. Oh, Connor Swam, I'm scrolling up now. So Connor Swam, that's a good friend of mine. He was checking in earlier. I need your social to book a plane flight. I promise I'm good for it. Connor, I don't know if you give me permission to share your story. If you do, then I will share it. But I have a funny story. I know what he's talking about with this. I might have stolen Connor, my good friend's social security number. So I'll share that story if he gives me permission. Tim Leonard, this is good. Do you think the U.S. will have a digital dollar based on a private banking blockchain? Yes, I do think that. It's already happening. So these are like the CD, central bank, CDBC, whatever. I can't think of it. It's Friday. But the federal government's already said we're coming out this direction. Now, when we say private banking blockchain, this is going to be what's interesting. Are they going to base it on like a fork of something? Is it going to be like a Stellar fork or like I don't know. I'm just throwing Stellar out there. It will be completely organically their own and totally secret, closed source. We don't know the answer on that stuff, but they've been very clear. If there's areas that the U.S. is going to regulate first, it's going to be around stablecoins, because stablecoins they view as a significant threat, both in terms of their high earning potential. And Gary Gensler, SEC chair, has even said things like he considers them like digital poker chips, right? I don't think that's very accurate. It's a pretty poor explanation. But yeah, I do think it's possible that I don't think it's just possible. You're going to see them go that direction, and you're going to see much of the U.S. based regulation focused on stable coins first. And yes, you will see a digital dollar for sure. I mean, it's already digital anyway. You walk into a bank, a bank branch doesn't have more than 100, 200K in cash actually sitting there. It's already electronic, right? But going to a blockchain would be a far better way for sure. Have I done KYC for Pi yet? You ready for the answer to this? Drum roll. No, I have not. I am still waiting, just like you guys. I am just like you. As soon as I get through KYC, I will let you know. I am going to do KYC. So when it happens, I'll let you know. But I do check every other day just to see. But I'm told that it's like a pop-up that's happening. On Twitter, I mentioned my advice to the core team is let's start publishing data and statistics around the KYC process for the Pi project so we can kind of see what the numbers are trending up for. But it's a big deal. Okay, I told you I would say I don't know when I don't know. Here's a question. I don't know. I don't know what VRA is. Send me a link and I'll happen to take a look at it. Dark web being interesting. Yep. Will we see a dark web based exchange? I think so. I think we're going to see it. The question is when and how good it will be, and can you even trust it? You probably can't, right? So that's going to be an interesting piece, is how do they facilitate something like that? But the other decentralized exchanges on the clear web, like Uniswap and others are also the same way. So we'll see. FJB coin, don't know it. Sorry. It's so many that I just don't know. If I knew something about it, I'd tell you. How is crypto treated in terms of taxes? You ready for this answer? Go ask your CPA. I am not a financial advisor. I've never tried to be. It is in the US, it's considered capital gains, but you need to have conversations with your tax professional. Don't listen to YouTubers. They're too dumb. You certainly don't want to do that. All right. So I don't know if you guys have any other things coming in. It looks like my mouse literally just died. There it goes. Came back again. The joys of Bluetooth. Let's see. Anything else here? Hey, thanks for subbing. I really appreciate that. One thing you guys could do for me for sure is hit like, subscribe, share, sub, all the stuff the YouTubers ask you to do. It really does go a long way. And I'm getting close to 100,000 subs on YouTube. I'm going to have one of those silver creator awards. I never thought it would happen. So I'm pretty excited about that. Is Bitcoin the safest way to use now? No, it's not really. It's a very stable, oldest that's out there, right? But I'm not sure I would say safest, right? In fact, it's less about the crypto and more about your own usage of the crypto, I think is an important way to look at it. Thoughts on Feg winning the DeFi Tech at Dubai Crypto? So, I mean, awesome, right? Huge congrats to them. I saw the tweet they tweeted at me. They sent me a picture of it. I mean, that's good, man. I don't know enough about like how many people they're competing against and all that, but you guys know my thoughts on Feg. It's a really exciting project, and they're becoming an ecosystem of sorts for other projects to build on top of. And then DeFi, or their approach to being the centralized mechanism, Feg, to make that happen is really exciting. It's a young, small project, and I think it's really cool. It's one of those that I'm happy to share the journey on. Is the bear market over? I don't know. I hope so. We'll see over the next few months. I don't know. Cincy, yeah, I need to do an update with Cincy for sure. Haven't checked back in with them in quite a while. All right, man. I was like, no questions, and now you guys, it's like nonstop questions. Let me spin a few more here, and I will be on my way out, so you guys can get off to your weekend if you haven't already. You own a large amount of XRP and wondering how to take it and convert it to fiat without tax. Oh, you can't ask me that question. That is not a question I can answer. You got to go ask the right people on that, and certainly don't listen to internet trolls because they'll tell you things like, "Well, send me your private key, your seed, and then I'll help you." Then your money is gone, right? But I would just say, if you own a lot of XRP and you want to convert it without tax, you're probably not going to be able to do that, right? Any way that you're going to do that is going to be illegal, at least here in the US. Unless you have some knowledge that I don't. So I would just say probably time to talk to a CPA if it's a large amount and find out the best way to do that to be as tax incentivized for yourself as you can. But we just got to recognize that the government's going to get their piece. And that is the case. What is my favorite cold wallet? Probably won't say, but I like Trezor and I like Ledger a lot, right? They're both pretty awesome. So I'll just leave it at that. Let's see here. China made their own stable crypto. What do you think its impact will be? I don't think I personally don't think it'll impact the entire wider world of crypto at all. I think it's just more of a mechanism to driving their own currency and getting better visibility into it for sure, which is what China always wants to do. But I actually don't see a lot of I don't think it'll impact the entire larger crypto market at all. I really don't. Someone about asking on Cincy. I'll have to get back to that project. It's been a while. There's just so many that are here. Tom Wilson, a lot of FUD going around lately on Pi Network. What would you say to reinforce faith in us pioneers? So here's the thing. That's a good question. Just enjoy the journey. Crypto is about the journey, my friends. If you try to now, when am I going to win Moon, win Lambo? Like, you gotta be, I've been doing this for 10 years now. I kid you not. Actually, next year it'll be 10 years I've been in crypto. That's a long time. I've learned to be patient through it. Enjoy the ride. Recognize that the Pi team is very small. It's a small core team. They're not funded, and because of that's their own choice, and so they're going to be slow in what they do. That's okay, right? So if you're willing to be patient, be patient. If you're not willing to be patient, give up in the project, but know that when you see news in Twitter and my channel and other things of new stuff coming out, jump back in, right? There's nothing wrong with anybody. This is my word of advice for the day, the week, whatever. There's nothing wrong with taking a crypto break. It is good to do that. It's good to take breaks from everything in life. So if you find yourself at this point where like you're totally lost faith, etc., just step away. You'll be better off for it. And the worries will go away. That's the way I would handle that. Safest offline crypto. So this is where hardware wallets, like I mentioned, Trezor, and others are also really good. But keep in mind, it's your keys, your crypto, your ability to secure and maintain those, and they can still be hacked, right? They still can be, especially when people get tricked into like you got an email from Ledger, Trezor to send in your secret, your seed key, something like that. Just be aware. You're responsible for your own security. And it's a big deal. And I see people every day that lose their crypto. The Feg token, rock on. Thanks, guys. Feg is awesome and very privileged that you guys are even following me. Great project. Love what you guys are doing. Okay, so there we are. I think that's about it. I'm gonna cool it here for questions. don't even know. Blockchain for separate crypto tax. Oh yeah, I mean that's an interesting thought for sure. Could you potentially create something specifically to handle? And there are companies, of course, that are handling crypto taxes to make life easier for you. So there you have it. Any insider info on Secret? I'm not an insider. I know insiders, but I am not one. But a big fan of them. Reach out to the Secret Network themselves, or like Brendan Kittredge. I follow him on Twitter. Brendan is awesome. He's a great person, very inside the know in Secret for sure. So guys, we're gonna cut it here. This has been super fun. Hit like, hit subscribe, all those good things. It really does go a super long way for me. And I hope every one of you guys has an awesome weekend. And just tell your boss that I told you you can go home early for listening to this live stream. So how about that? Thanks, guys.